A number of years ago, my wife and I had an opportunity to vacation in Hawaii, and it was an incredible experience for us. It absolutely lived up to the hype. And so we flew in, we got to our hotel, and then our very first time on the beach, we saw somebody who looked like they probably lived in the area. And it was a young man, and we're walking past them, and I said, "Man, this place is beautiful." Because we had just got there, we were taking it all in, and it was incredible. I'd never been anywhere like that. And the guy looked at me and he said, "Same old, same old." I didn't know how to respond. We just kept on walking. And I was like, man, I mean, this is truly like one of the most beautiful places in the world. And yet this guy, he couldn't care less. I mean, his response was same old, same old. And it got me thinking, how many of us are just like that in leadership? We've been given an incredible opportunity. We're doing good as leaders. We're growing as leaders. And yet, do we care? Are we thankful for what we've been given? Do we inspire others? Are we inspired ourselves? In this module, I want us to look at the second key component to being a transformational leader, and that is the ability to inspire other people. I want to be sure that we are not like the same old guy looking at the beautiful beach, but really not giving credit where credit is due. How do we keep ourselves inspired? And how do we inspire our team? Let's jump in. We're actually going to look at 7 ways to inspire a team. But this first one I want to look at is a big one, and we're going to spend most of our time on it. We're going to look at how do we have a compelling vision. If you don't have a compelling vision, you're really not going to be able to inspire. A compelling vision, what is it? A compelling vision is a clear statement on where you are taking those who come with you. So where are you going? What are you trying to accomplish? If it's a community event, if it's your family, if it's your friends, if it's where you work, if it's students at school, like where are you headed as a leader? Leaders are headed somewhere. Are you heading somewhere that is compelling to other people? Are you trying to improve something? Are you trying to make something better? Are you trying to alleviate some sort of pain or hurt in the world? What are you doing? It needs to be compelling, and it needs to be a clear statement. I can illustrate it like this. There's an old leadership proverb, and it talks about 3 men building a building, and they were bricklayers. And somebody came up to the first bricklayer and he said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And the bricklayer said, "I'm making $12 an hour." The man went up to a second bricklayer, and the bricklayer said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, I'm working my 8 to 5 job so that I can support my family." All right. Guy walked up to the third bricklayer. "What are you doing?" And the third bricklayer said, "I'm building the most beautiful cathedral." One of those bricklayers had a vision. The other 2 did not. Because, the guy working for $12 an hour, or the guy doing it to support his family, both of those things are good things. But neither one of those is a compelling vision. Neither one of those makes you want to roll up your sleeve and work with them. But the guy who said and meant that he wanted to build a beautiful cathedral, that's the kind of person you want to work with. That's the kind of person you want to do life with. And so as a leader, you got to have that compelling vision as well. Now, if you don't have a compelling vision, here's some problems you're going to have. There's going to be a cognitive dissonance. There's going to be a disconnect between what you say you're doing and what you're actually doing. And your whole team is going to feel that. If you don't have a compelling vision, people are going to be like, okay, this person, they're passionate, but we're not really sure what they're passionate for. We can see that they're trying to lead us. There's something maybe even compelling about the person, but we have no idea what he or she is trying to do, where they're going. And so there's just going to be this disconnect. As another reason you've got to have a compelling vision is if you don't have a compelling vision, your team's going to constantly get stuck. They're going to constantly be getting stuck. There's going to be a lack of morale. The morale is going to be low if you don't have a compelling vision. Another problem with not having compelling vision is that people on your team are going to constantly be caught up in like internal politics. People are going to be competing with one another. If there's not a compelling mission for your team to tackle, they'll start going at one another. And so as a leader, we got to be sure that the team knows where we're headed. Another key factor for having a compelling vision is that the best visions are not manufactured. Instead, they're discovered. So do the hard work of discovering what is the vision for your team. What is the vision for your life? Who are you? How do you operate? How are you wired? And where's the world's greatest needs? This would be a good way of not manufacturing a vision, but rather discovering the vision for your life. In the same way with your team, you need to get the team together and start talking about hey, who are we? Where are we going? What's important to you? And we discover our vision. Think of like somebody maybe mining for gold. They've got to go through lots and lots of dirt just to find the gold, right? And so same thing with you as a leader. You may have to do a lot of digging to find a few nuggets of gold. We don't manufacture a vision. Instead, we discover our vision. And in trying to discover your vision, I've already gave a couple examples, but here's some other questions to ask yourself. What are you particularly good at? What are you passionate about? Where have you been successful in the past? Where do you want to be? These are all good questions to really internalize and think through, work through in discovering what the vision for you or your team needs to be. The next step in developing a compelling vision is you need to bring a coalition along with you. It's once been said that if you want to go fast, go by yourself. But if you want to go far, you need a team with you. And so build a coalition for your team. Create a shared vision. I once met with a great leader, and he said good leaders have a vision. They have a strong vision. But the best leaders have a shared vision. Get your team together. Get a whiteboard out. Get a way of taking notes. Do some brainstorming. Hey, what's important to us as a team? What are we uniquely good at? What have we been successful at? What should the vision of our team be? Now, listen, as a leader, you don't want just anybody to hijack the vision of yourself or your team, but it's good to bring people along into that process with you in developing the vision. Again, if somebody says something that maybe it's just kind of out of left field and it doesn't really fit with where you guys are headed, hey, it's okay. You don't have to, chisel it into marble, okay? You don't have to keep it, but let people buy into the vision. Let them help brainstorm. In fact, as you're brainstorming with your team and other people are buying in, there are going to be some comments made that really do make it into the final vision. Conversely, there are going to be some people, they say something that's really important, but it doesn't necessarily apply to the vision of the team. Well, even if that doesn't make it into like the final vision statement, for instance, of the team, this could be an opportunity for you to talk one-on-one with that person. So maybe they said like, hey, one of the things that I love about our team is that I got relocated out of state and I'm here and I found you guys and I'm glad we're part of this team. Well, hey, the vision for your team is probably not like, hey, we're a great place for people who get relocated out of state, right? That's not compelling. But for that one person, it is. And so when you're meeting with that person, you can say, hey, how cool is it that when you moved here, we all connected and we get to be part of this really cool thing together. When you're trying to encourage that person, you can bring up that piece of compelling vision for that person. It may not apply to everybody, but it applied to them. The next step in having a compelling vision is that we have to stress test it. We don't want to be those people who've got a vision and then 10 years later find out it wasn't that compelling. So let's stress test it early and often. Ask people on your team, what do you think about this? Give me feedback. Is it compelling? Do you get excited about it? Does it keep you up at night in a good way, thinking about the vision and where we're headed as a team? Ask people outside the organization, is this compelling? Would you like to be part of this? Is this exciting? Now, some people are just going to avoid the conflict. They're going to tell you what you want to hear. So a great question to ask people within your team is, hey, tell me about a time you told someone outside of our team about where we're headed as a team. If you're just getting blank looks, like nobody's talking about where you guys are headed as an organization or as a team, then the truth is People probably really aren't that excited about it, that it's really not that compelling. They just don't want to hurt your feelings. People can say that they like the vision, but if they're not talking about it amongst themselves, if they're not telling other people about it, it's not that compelling. Another step in having a compelling vision is it needs to be in writing. Put it in writing. If it's just in your head, that's not good enough. We want this vision to catch like wildfire and spread everywhere. So put it in writing. Where I work, on our door where our staff enter, we've got our vision all written out. And so when staff come into the office, we see the vision. We have little booklets that we print. It's got our vision statement, it's got our values, some of our strategy, and we print those and give them to all of our staff. Why? Because we want to constantly be reviewing our vision. It's true that if it's out of sight, it may be out of mind. And so we just want to keep our vision in front of us. Next thing is that vision requires maintenance. Kind of like a flower bed. A flower bed's beautiful. It draws people together, and flower beds grow weeds. Same way, your vision. Hopefully it's bonding you guys together. Hopefully everybody's excited. It's a beautiful thing. But you're going to have to do maintenance on that compelling vision. Every 6 months, every 12 months, you need to ask people on your team, is this still the right compelling vision for us? Is this still who we are? Is there a way to make it more accurate? We mentioned that visions are discovered, not manufactured. So since we came up with the last vision statement, have we discovered more about who we are, where we're headed, or a more effective way of communicating this vision statement? So just like a good flower bed, you're going to have to do continual maintenance on your vision statement. Next, with a compelling vision, everything in your organization needs to be aligned with that vision. So one of the ways we get in trouble as leaders or as organizations is that we'll say that like, hey, this is our vision, but then you've got like a department or a team member over here doing their own thing, or this department's doing their thing, or maybe it was nothing sinister, maybe we just never really thought about it, that we have all these different little components of our team or our organization, and we're really not aligning all of our actions towards this one shared vision. So part of your job as a leader is to make sure that all the components of your organization or your team are pointed towards the same vision. Every action within your team needs to be pointed towards the same vision. Yes, every action needs to be pointed towards the same vision. You, as the leader, one of your roles is to personify the vision. If the vision of your team was a person, it should be you. You need to be the personification of that vision. So ask yourself, is there anything with me as the leader that is actually contradicting this vision? I say one thing, but I'm doing or acting in a different way. So a few things to think about. You, as the personification of the vision, does the way that you dress match the vision you have? The things that you're talking about. So when you're with your team, when you're with staff meetings, are you personifying the vision? Next, if you want to inspire the people on your team, one of the best things you can do is connect the dots on why a task is important. Let me give it for instance. Let's say where you work, somebody has got to empty out the trash, something really simple. Well, don't tell somebody just to empty out the trash. Connect the dots of why that's a really big deal. You could, for instance, say like, hey, just imagine if nobody emptied out the trash before long. The trash cans are overfilling with this trash. It's going to become a distraction. So whatever task you're assigning to your team or whatever your team is doing routinely, as the leader, inspire your team by connecting the dots of why each task is important, on why each task plays a part in the bigger picture. The next way to inspire your team is to speak optimistically about the future. Ultimately, people are following you because they think you're going to a desired location. They think that in some way you're going to take them to a more preferred future, right? You're going to make their team better. You're going to help them get better. You're going to achieve some sort of shared vision. And so as leaders, we need to inspire our team by speaking optimistically about the future. Now, I'm not saying you need to have some sort of giddy smile on your face all the time, but we do need to face reality with some optimism. When things aren't going well, don't be complaining about it. Instead, figure out how you can turn challenges into opportunities. People are going to be discouraged. They're going to be uninspired if you as a leader are pessimistic about the future. So as a leader, speak optimistically about the future. Another way that you can inspire your team is by making sure everyone on your team knows what's expected of them. A really quick way to uninspire people is for there to be confusion or to hold somebody accountable for something they didn't even know was their responsibility. So, a few ways that you can make expectations really clear for people. If it's important to you, be sure it's in writing. If you're going to hold someone on your team to some sort of standard or accountability, be sure you have given that to them in writing. Be sure your team knows what the priorities are. Where should they be prioritizing with their money, with their time, with their resources? Be sure your team knows what to prioritize. And you also need to be sure that your team knows what the goals are. If your organization has goals, and I hope that you do, if not, you probably need to pause this video and develop some SMART goals. Be sure your team knows what the goals are. And for the goals and priorities, be sure you put those things in writing. The next way you can inspire your team is by constantly reminding the team of the vision. We've already talked about how to have a shared vision. Now, your role is to constantly remind people of why the vision matters and what the vision is. You could think of vision as like a barrel. In that barrel, there's a hole in the bottom. And imagine you put water into this barrel and all that water just flows out. If you want to keep that barrel full, you're going to have to constantly keep refilling the barrel with water. Vision is the very same thing. Your team is like that barrel, and there's a hole at the bottom of that barrel. As a leader, you've got to constantly be refilling that barrel with vision of where are we headed, why are we doing what we're doing, and why does it matter? Every time you are with your team, you need to remind them of the vision and why your work matters. Other ways that you can remind your team of why the vision matters and what the vision is by getting creative in how you share that vision. I once heard that vision is simply saying the same thing in a million different ways. So get creative in how you share that vision. When you meet with your team, you don't need to change the vision, but you do need to add some variety in how you share the vision. You could share the vision with stories of success that your organization has faced. You can put it in writing in unique ways. For instance, you can make a little booklet like I use that has our vision and our priorities and it has our goals written down. You can find a way to put the vision on the walls in the office. Get creative in how you constantly remind your team of the vision. The next way to inspire your team is by training them well. Sometimes as a leader, we feel like that, we're so busy and everybody else is so busy. And the last thing we want to do is give anybody else something else to do. I know I have been guilty of that. Most leaders have been. But here's one of the things we know. There's only two ways that have been proven to increase the morale of your team. One way to increase the morale of your team is to celebrate stories. The second way is to train them. The people on your team want to do a good job. They want to be successful. One of the things you can do as a leader is to provide training. This could be providing them with books. It could be providing them with links to blogs or podcasts that you have found helpful. Regardless of how you do it, be sure that you're providing regular training for your team. If you do that, it will actually inspire them. The next way to inspire your team is through celebrations. Celebrate when your team hits a goal. Celebrate when there are other victories and wins. Celebrate team effort. Celebrate individual effort. It's once been said that if you have to correct somebody, do it privately. But if you're going to celebrate something, do it publicly. Get creative in how you can celebrate. In my experience, a lot of leaders, they're so focused on moving forward. They're so focused on the vision. They're so focused on what's next. Many times we actually forget to celebrate when the team does well. So I would encourage you even to pull out your calendar and to put a recurring entry on your calendar of when you're going to pause and celebrate recent victories with your team. As you're celebrating, it's going to inspire your team. Why? Because when you celebrate, they're seeing that their work actually had a positive outcome. Hey, we worked really hard on this. We did these things. We made these difficult decisions. And as a result, we have the success story. So as a leader, they're going to be looking to you to celebrate those wins. You do all these things, and you're going to have an inspired team. As you have an inspired team, you will become a more effective leader. I'll see you in the next video.